So anyway, now we have audio again. And so, you remember that guy got shot in New York City who was the executive at a health insurance company by a guy, I think, Luigi Mangione. After that, a lot of rich people are worried that someone's going to shoot them. So they have this app called Protector. It's an iOS app only, and what you can do, it's like Uber. You can call for a car to pick you up and drive you, but it comes with an armed guard. And it costs $200 an hour, and the minimum purchase is 5 hours. So there's just a way for you to hire a armed guard to escort you places to keep you safe. And so people are arguing about it, and apparently the guy that runs it has a pretty bad reputation, so people are pretty skeptical how much good this will really do. But anyway, I know you can do it. Now, I actually have a member of my extended family who worked in the San Francisco police and got trained in dignitary protection, and then was hired by the CEO of Twitter to do this, to drive him around and also act as his bodyguard. So it is a real thing that rich people do. Or they don't normally do it from an app, getting a random armed guard. They usually have someone they trust that they stick with. Yes, well, armed guard would make you stand out. Yeah, and so these guys say, just adding more guns to the situation might be bad. But I know it's very common in Mexico, I think, that you do this, because people get kidnapped all the time for ransom. In America, not so much, but maybe as we go ahead. And in the same spirit, so this is Blackwater. I don't know if you guys remember Blackwater, but during, I think, the Iraq War, Blackwater was a gang of mercenaries. It's run by, I think, Betsy DeVos's brother. She's a billionaire that Trump put in charge of education, and her job is to end public education and move everybody into private education schools. And Eric Prince, her brother, ran Blackwater, and Blackwater was accused of revolting atrocities in the Iraq War. A whole bunch of the soldiers there were not official U.S. military. They were these mercenaries, Blackwater, and they said they were just ruthless. They would just wipe out innocent people like crazy all the time, didn't care about anything. I think some of them committed atrocities and actually got prosecuted and had to get pardoned by Donald Trump or some, I forget all the details. But anyway, they had a really bad reputation, and now they want to hire them to deport the 12 million immigrants that Trump wants to deport. They want these Blackwater, ruthless, violent mercenaries to run these concentration camps they'll send them off into. So this has not been approved yet, but if it is, it's about the worst case you could imagine. It's going to be more or less like just the Nazis sending people off to death camps. And so most U.S. companies have ended all DEI programs in order to comply with Trump's order. Even though it doesn't directly apply to them, they want to just butter up the Trump administration, but not Apple. Apple put a anti-DEI proposal, came up from the shareholders, and the other shareholders voted it down. So Apple is not abandoning DEI. Here's somebody talking about AWS did a training session about security and have access to armed guard transport. Yes, well, that's right. In other nations, there are quite a few other nations that are dangerous, and you do get armed guards to drive you around. It's just not that common inside America. And so Elon Musk said when he made Grok AI that he wanted to have unfiltered AI that could do all the nasty things other people block. So now they have this thing called Unhinged that can curse and scream, talk about sex and things like that. Wonder if the usual things I hear about people blocking are telling you how to make a bomb or writing malware. I don't know if it's unfiltered in that regard, but I imagine it is. That's kind of Elon's thing was to make an AI that was completely unfiltered. He called that freedom of speech. And the other thing he did is he said, you can't trust any newspapers or government agencies or universities or anything. All those people are like deep state crooks just lying to you. The way to find the truth is from Twitter. And so that helps explain the way he constantly spouts off things that are false. But anyway, that's where Grok gets all of its valuable factual information, from Twitter, apparently. So this is a very interesting article in the Washington Post talking about what happened with the Doge brothers, and it's just what I've heard from many sources the same thing. These are basically teenagers and people in their early 20s that have worked for Elon Musk, and he's told them, you are the master race, you are smarter than anybody, these government people are all idiots, you should just barge in, and if you look at this system, in 5 minutes you can see who should be fired because most of them should all be fired. It's all just corrupt anyway, and don't even bother asking any of them how it works or reading the manual or understanding what the fields mean or anything. Your first guess at what it means is sufficient to just fire everybody. So that's why they've been publishing how much money they saved and getting it off by like millions. They quoted the original claim was that they had $55 billion in saved, and they were off by a factor of 1,000 in one contract and by a lot in the other. So the actual amount they saved was $2 billion. Of course, the correct amount is probably zero because all this is completely illegal and will probably all be reversed in the courts soon. But anyway, they talk here about other things they did. In particular, there was something that they cut, which was really important, and the Rubio ordered them to turn it back on and said you have to turn back on this funding, I think AIDS funding or something, PEPFAR, to combat HIV in Africa. Rubio decreed that this program will continue to be funded, so he ordered people to distribute funds to it, and the Elon Musk's Doge people were in the computers, and when they saw the request for those payments to come through, they would just manually cancel them all the time, so the funding didn't get back. And this is something, there was a protester at a congressional hearing last week where someone was saying, you cut this all-important funding, and the Republican running the convention said very contemptuously, well, you don't pay any attention to things because we restored that, and they didn't restore it, which probably is like this. Somebody at a high level said we should restore that, but they can't actually get the Doge people to cooperate, which is why this is illegal. The Doge people aren't properly being administered. The chain of command is not clear. They haven't had the legal authority to do this. They haven't had the security clearance to do this. They haven't had the modifications they're making to the software and the hardware on the network going through any review. So it's all fantastically unwise. Anyway, I'm going to stop this.